We are back here at the Living in Philadelphia YouTube channel, and before we get started, remember, for all things Philadelphia related, make sure to click on the bell for notifications, subscribe below, and we want to be your resource for everything happening in our local marketplace. So I'm here with my good friend, super real estate agent, Steve Bizzagani. Yep. He is Mr. Philadelphia. He knows everything about the city. So we're going to talk about really like the 5 or 6 best places to live in Philadelphia right now. So why don't you lead off? What's your top neighborhood, or at least the first one that comes to mind here, where you think people should be thinking about moving to if they're looking to relocate to our area, or maybe just relocate from one neighborhood to another?
Yeah, so for me, I think my favorite neighborhoods for me is Manayunk and Roxborough, because it's a little bit of a suburban and center city feel. You get to be close to the city, you get to be close to the suburbs, and it has a lot of green space. A lot of people want both that city-suburb feel without being too far out in the sticks and without being too much jammed up in the city. The Rittenhouse Square area I really like a lot because it's just bougie, and that's, I have expensive I have expensive taste. So I think that also, because it is for the people who do like that center city area, who like to be within walking distance of pretty much everything, that's your neighborhood for that kind of stuff. And then all of the restaurants around there are amazing. And I do apologize, my babysitter bailed on me today, so we do have him in the studio today. So awesome. But on top of that, similar to Rittenhouse Square, Old City is just as bougie as Rittenhouse Square is, but it has a little bit more of a historical factor to it, which I think is really cool. Like, you've got Independence Hall, you've got Independence Mall, you've got Independence Beer Garden, you've got all kinds of independent stuff, obviously, and then you've got the Liberty Bell, and a bunch of other, the Revolutionary History Museum. You've got all of those cool things that you can do. In addition to that, what else we have? We've got Fairmount too, so on our docket, and Fairmount's really cool too because it's kind of away from the center city like congestion, but it's still like in the city, like technically. It's not like it's still considered a center city neighborhood. It's not like a Manayunk or anything like that. And that also offers a lot of green space. It's very close to Kelly Drive, which is a beautiful street. It's very close to Boathouse Row. It's close to the Schuylkill River if you want to go out and get water views. It's very close to Center City if you do want to go to Center City. So, and the real estate's really nice. I think the houses there are a lot bigger. They have wider row homes there, so I really like those as well. So if you guys have any questions about any one of those neighborhoods, I mean, always happy to help you guys out with that kind of stuff.
Well, the thing about Manayunk and Roxborough, I came up with a similar list here, and you got the train access, which to me is really important.
Yeah, there's 3 train stations.
Which, transportation in Philadelphia is kind of hit or miss in some places. Yeah. So the fact that you have that many different train stations there is really great. Yeah. Main Street is super cool. You got restaurants there.
Yes.
You've got a lot of different shopping. If that's what your thing is, a lot of boutique shopping.
Shopping, food, beer, bars, and the thing about Manayunk is it's kind of like a long strip. Mm-hmm. So like what's cool is that you have the Ivy Ridge train station if you're on this side, the Manayunk one if you're in the middle, and the Wissahickon one. And that's the other thing. Speaking of Wissahickon, you're close to the East Falls area, which is where the #1 brewery in the city is, which is Wissahickon Brewing Company, and I really love that place. It's also dog friendly, and I think Manayunk is probably like the most dog friendly neighborhood in all of Philadelphia. They have dog parks and trails, and they actually have dog events on Main Street. It's called Manayunk Dog Day of Summer is one of them. They have the pet friendly dog bakery right on Main Street. So I mean, if you're a dog lover and you love outside, I mean, Manayunk's definitely your neighborhood.
Well, and you mentioned the green space there too. So you think if it's like a family that's moving there, or maybe someone that just likes to be outdoors a little bit, you got access to all the different trails back there.
Yeah.
You're close to the Belmont Plateau and those sort of things.
Yeah.
It's got that. To me, that's the best of both worlds because it's a lot easier to park around there, and most of the homes come with more parking than they do with some of these center city areas that we talked about. And just getting out to the suburbs, you're right by 76.
Yeah.
Easy access to the highways. So to me, Manayunk and Roxborough is for the person that wants to be in the city but also needs to get to the suburbs.
Yes.
It's a little bit of a mix there, and that's one of the cool parts about it. Plus, my wife is from Roxborough, so we'll give that a thumbs up. So, and I've been really surprised by the development in Roxborough. I mean, Roxborough used to be Manayunk, and Roxborough was almost an afterthought, and now there's so much going on up on Ridge Avenue, and we've seen a lot of development happen up there where it's almost like a continuous neighborhood, which is really cool.
Yeah, I would say Rittenhouse Square, Old City, your parking spaces are valued about $100,000 a piece there. So
Great point.
If you're in Manayunk, Roxborough, you can buy a $450,000 house with parking and not have to pay those crazy monthly fees. If you don't have a parking spot in Rittenhouse Square, it's going to be $200 to $300 a month for a spot at some local garage, or you're going to pay an extra $100,000 on the price. Mm-hmm. Whereas here in Manayunk, like my house, we're sub 500 for 2-car parking, which is awesome, and a yard. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else.
Well, you get more bang for your buck, so I think that's the pretty cool part about Manayunk and Roxborough. And then the flip side is if you want that city feel, and you move to a place like Rittenhouse Square, and to me, the biggest value with Rittenhouse is you have the park right in the middle. Like it gives you some sort of green space because there's not a lot of parks when you get into Center City.
Right.
I mean, you got that Washington Square, or if you get up to Fairmount, but there's not a whole lot of green space there.
Yeah, it's concrete jungle otherwise.
It also feels more like a city. I mean, I think you really get that downtown feel there. You definitely get better views the higher up you are. And if you want condo living and you don't really have to commute outside of Center City, then Rittenhouse might be a better fit for you.
For sure. The Rittenhouse is definitely a condo life. Like, if you're a condo lifestyle, you don't want to maintain a yard or anything like that, or a roof or an exterior, like, that is definitely your spot. I mean, the building's, like, right on the park, like, you have the actual park itself, PARC Park, and then you have the Dorchester and other buildings like that. Like, they're right on the park. The only thing is, if you want to row them, like, it's like $7 million.
Yeah,
for a row.
And that's probably not the right place for you. I mean, that's where I think a Fairmount or to a lesser extent, Old City or some of the neighborhoods in between can be a little better fit for you. Or like Northern Liberties, where there's a lot of townhomes and row homes up that way.
Yes.
What I also like about Rittenhouse is the public transportation doesn't suffer there. You got Suburban Station, which is right there.
Yep.
You have, if you like doing stuff around like the holidays, you got Love Park, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
To me, the best restaurants are in Rittenhouse Square. I don't think there's, I mean, overall, I mean, the most high end, you got Barclay Prime, Park, all those sort of iconic Philadelphia restaurants that a lot of people go to.
Yeah, I'd say probably like right around where like City Hall is to Rittenhouse Square, like right from like Broad Street to like 18th, 19th, and then we're between like Chestnut and like probably like Market or South Street. Like South Street might be a little too far south, but still, like that whole little pocket there. I mean, that's like restaurant heaven in there. Like, you want good food. That's where Philly good food is.
I agree. I mean, that's where the best chefs open all their places. And if you want to walk to the financial district, probably Rittenhouse or Fairmount's where you want to be as well, because that's kind of that's where a lot of the office buildings are. So
true. Yeah, a lot of lawyers down there too.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, with Fairmount, what I think the cool thing about that is if you like to run or get outside, or like you said, get towards Boathouse Row, easy access to Kelly Drive, Schuylkill. That's probably where you want to be, and that's also more of a row home neighborhood where the homes are wider.
They are. They're like 18 feet wide to 20 feet wide. Some of them.
It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're in a 12-foot or 14-foot wide home versus 18 to 20, it makes a pretty big difference.
I would say Fairmount's more like the bridge to Center City. So like if you're in Manayunk and Roxborough, you're like up north. You're northwest. But like if you're looking to like get into the Center City, like you got to cross through Fairmount to get to Center City, and then Fairmount's like that bridge area. So it's also a healthier mix. It's more, I would say, it's more heavy city side.
I agree.
But it's definitely like, it's still a good mix. I mean, Manayunk is probably the perfect blend, and then obviously there's the suburbs. But I think Fairmount is like a nut. If you couldn't do Manayunk if that was too far away, Fairmount would be like definitely the next step for you.
Yeah, and the other, to me, it feels more like a neighborhood over there than when you're downtown in Rittenhouse Square or Old City. Like there's that kind of neighborhood feel.
There is definitely that, yeah. There's quiet streets, tree-lined streets.
The corner bars, the corner restaurants, the lunch spots. Like it's definitely more of a neighborhood around there.
Yeah.
And if you want to run up the steps and pretend you're Rocky, it's easy access to do that too.
That's there to the art museum. So I mean, the art museum is pretty cool too, though. I mean, just that whole section there. Waterworks is over there. That the restaurant, like that's pretty awesome. And even Fairmount Avenue, because like they have like good restaurants too, and like it's almost like the main street of Fairmount. So like Fairmount Avenue, like go figure, right?
Yep.
But it's and then Fairmount Park, which is, I mean, that's probably the biggest green space I could think
of. It is, yeah.
So that's awesome too.
So when you get to Old City, to me that's like the trendiest of the spots here. Like there's more of a nightlife there. They have more like, especially when you get down to like 2nd Street in that area. You got that like cobblestone sort of street feel. Like it's a little bit of a different vibe than these other neighborhoods. And you can also have access to Penn's Landing.
I was just gonna say, Penn's Landing is like probably my favorite spot in the entire city.
Well,
like,
tell us why.
So like I really like Penn's Landing, one, because like I love being close to water. Like I'm obsessed with it. Which is like I grew up. My brother was a boat guy, so we were always in the water. We always came down from Ben Salem down to Center City. We used to eat on the Mushaloo, which is like a boat restaurant.
Still there.
It's still there, right? So then I mean everything like I would say one. The atmosphere there. I mean, I love the old streets. I mean, Elfrist Alley, the oldest street in the entire country, is here. Like the boats, like I said, you could go on the Ben Franklin yacht. You could go on the Spirit of Philadelphia, the Mushaloo. Like all of these boat restaurants are right there. And then there's like Second Story Brewing, which is another, and all these cool places on Chestnut and Market and Walnut. Like, I mean, the whole atmosphere is cool. And then even the condo buildings, because this is definitely condo life. If you're looking for this, if you're looking to live here, it's condo life for sure.
Absolutely.
So like the condo buildings are even cool because like they're built with like these old brick and like that old city charm is there, and which you don't typically get in maybe like a Rittenhouse Square might not be as like charming, if you will. I mean, it's cool. Rittenhouse is still cool. It's just not the charming that old city brings.
Well, it's called Old City for a reason. Like,
right.
These are like the most historic homes that you're going to see. You're right by Society Hill there, so it's a bit of a different vibe. I do like that it's on the water, like you had said. I think the big challenge here is if you want to get somewhere, you're either taking an Uber or a cab because you really don't have a lot of.
A lot of people walk.
Well, I mean, you can walk because it's pretty walkable. I think that's the point. But
huge walkability there.
And you see a lot of like converted, like you said, converted warehouses, older buildings that have been repurposed for residential, which I think has a lot of. It's got that city vibe to it, like
that industrial look too. Yeah, I really like that.
So the last neighborhood we didn't hit on in Philadelphia you might want to consider is Northern Liberties, which is just north of Old City. So you still got that water kind of vibe there, but it's a little further away from the water than Old City because it kind of Delaware Ave turns a little bit. And it's got a vibrant beer scene. I think it's probably maybe the best beer scene in the whole city. You got Yards, Evil Genius, like you said.
Yeah.
And it's a neighborhood that's developed over the past 20 years. Where if you want more of like to me, you get like these like gigantic row homes there. I mean, they're much bigger than
they're new construction though.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah,
so they're not going to be the big like Fairmount's going to be like the old charm.
More like a brownstone, yeah.
Yeah, like a brownstone. You're going to see that there. You're going to see brownstones in Rittenhouse. You're not going to see brownstones as much in North Liberties. You're going to see like new construction. The new construction there is in like the 7-figure range most of the time. It's going to be 600-700 on the low side, and then it's not just like $2 million on the high side. And then, like you were saying before, like if you like to gamble,
you can go to Rivers Casino.
Rivers Casino's
Be
there.
careful going there would be my advice. It's a little it's a little risky up there.
But they do have a cool condo building in Northern Liberties that I do really want to highlight. That's like Waterfront Square, which is literally right on the water. Again, going back to the water. So like it's not too far away from the water where like you have like Frankfurt Hall on Frankfurt Avenue, which is a cool place to go and drink beer. You've got Evil Genius Brewing, which is there. Philadelphia Brewing Company's there. And then Yards, like you said, is right on 4th and Spring Garden. Like, I mean, there's like no shortage of things to do as far as Northern Liberties goes.
So those are really what I see is the 5 places you want to move to in Philadelphia. And there's kind of some overlap here. And what I say about Philadelphia is that, and I'm sure you would agree, it's a city of neighborhoods.
For sure.
And I mean, some of these places are literally adjacent to each other, and it's a totally different environment. So the best thing you can do is drive around, talk to someone local like Steve, get a feel for what's going on, because Philadelphia is a very diverse city, and if you know what you want, you can probably find it somewhere if you're talking to the right person.